it's time again to have coffee together. Today we're going to speak with Elizabeth Burdock. Her screen name is Witch Betty. Um, you can find her on Instagram and Facebook that way. Uh, she is a storyteller, creator, forest protector who stood on the front lines of environmental movements, including protests to defend old growth forests in the Walbrand Valley, Berry Creek, and beyond. Well, if you know anything about the two valleys mentioned here, they're in British Columbia. Um, she has built a community of over 2 million people across TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, as we mentioned, uh, through her viral cooking shows, foraging adventures, the whimsical content series like Burdock and Yarrow. In addition to her digital presence, Elizabeth is a tattoo artist and a herbalist who works to explore themes of resilience, creativity, connection to the land. Whether she's teaching about plants, she's sharing her story, or inspiring others to find joy and courage in everyday life, Elizabeth brings humor, honesty, and heart to everything she does. So, finish gathering up that last cup of coffee or snack and hurry up and sit down so that we can speak to Elizabeth here on Inspiring Stories. Well, welcome to the show, Elizabeth. Or should I call you Betty?
I don't mind.
You don't
I'm
mind?
easy.
You're easy. Okay, so what really attracted me, I caught you talking one time about finding a salad that would be just in your backyard, and you were talking about nettles and all these really cool plants that are actually edible that we like. Well, as modern people, we spray them with Roundup. Oh God! Uh, and when we could actually have a salad right there, right? Not go to a
Yeah.
store. And we all know that packaged stuff that they have in the stores. We put ourselves at risk for this little condition called listeria.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So you packed all that into like 60 to 90 seconds, and it was like so cool. So,
Awesome.
and then when I look at your website, you talk about that you spend even your childhood running around the woods. So why don't we start there and tell us about this little girl running through the woods, what you were thinking about.
Well, I grew up on Bowen Island in British Columbia, and when I was a kid, it was a minute ago, and there was very few people there. So it probably had a population of maybe 850, 900 people tops, and only a small percentage of that was children, and an even smaller percentage of that was children my own age. And so that I rarely saw kids my own age anyway, or kids at all. And so I just spent a lot of time building forts and collecting stuff in the forest. And also Bowen had no natural predators. So the biggest animal is a deer. And so it was kind of safe to just run around. There's not going to be anything dangerous out there other than perhaps other humans. So so I spent a lot of time doing that.
Well, you get a good point that I think the scariest predator on the planet is actually the human being, but we're not going to go down that road. So you always had an interest in the environment um, and protecting our our planet and learning from our planet.
Correct.
Yeah. So how did you actually get? How did all that work out that you do the herbalist thing and get to know so much about what's growing around us.
Well, I mean, it has been sort of what seemed to me to be common knowledge for a lot of it, because of the way that I was raised. And but for me to make it any kind of a profession, my first try at that was around 18, where I did some online courses about aromatherapy, and it went into how to make like salves and things like that. So I tried to do that and make salves at markets and sell herbs that way, but it's pretty unlikely that many people are going to buy foraged goods or herbal medicines from an 18-year-old, especially when you look like me at 18, because I looked even younger than 18. So so I just looked like some kid trying to sell potions, some kid trying to sell potions. So it didn't work out. So I tried other things, but it was just something that always um, stayed a part of me. And later in life, when I became more parent that I wanted to do this with my life, I have an aversion to, and I don't think that this is something that anyone should follow, but I personally have an aversion to authority, and I have an aversion to the way that schooling is done, and through lots of um, through lots of unfortunate experiences, I didn't have a good time in school. So the idea of doing things conventionally just never resonated with me in any way. So, but the universe provides, and wanted me to do it. So while I was tattooing, a woman offered to trade me all of her course material and books and everything from a school called Dominion Herbal College in exchange for a tattoo, as well as some other amazing herbal books, and which I, of course, took her up on. And so I completed the chartered herbalist course at Dominion Herbal College, including all of the tests, but Dominion Herbal College has no idea. And
Oh,
so that was where I got a lot of the information.
wow, that's actually pretty cool. Because you have some pretty amazing artwork.
Yeah, I've been a tattoo artist for well, 18 years, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, okay, so because we're going to go sidebar on the environmental thing for a second here. What drew you in with the tattoo? Why the body art?
Well, that was another thing. I remember one time I was about 5 years old and we were taking a trip to the city, and I was like holding my mom's hand, and I saw a woman heavily tattooed. And of course my head spun, and my British mother said, "Oh, that's awful. You would never want to look like that." And I said, I would. I would. And it just kind of started from there. And then having a love of music, especially rock and roll music and grunge rock and all of that through the 90s. All of my heroes were tattooed. And while I knew I couldn't get close to them in other ways, it just kind of dawned on me. I was like, I bet if I did that, I'd get to hang out with musicians and rock stars. And it works. I do.
I see. Deployed to hang out with rock and roll.
My husband likes to say that I am not adverse to playing the long game. It's kind of the way that I do everything is I just plan it out and play it long.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
but yeah, all those things worked out.
the planet the plan it out and play it long. If everybody goes to your website, which is
Witchbetty.com, WHICHBETTY.com.
cool.
You got to spell it right, because
Yeah.
then we get into the whole witch thing and like, oh, she's a witch. Well, I am a woman who plays with plants and
Well,
lives in the forest.
if we go the Wicca way, right? You know what I mean?
I suppose, but I'm not.
It means that you're knowledgeable about the environment and that you have a strong respect for the plants and living things around you. Uh, but but it's not spelled that way. It's spelled WICH. So um, But
WITCH.
what's that?
Or do you mean me? Or you mean me? That's WHICH.
Yeah, W.
Yeah, like which one is she gonna do next?
Yeah,
What's she doing now?
as
She's
in which
fixing a car. Now we're building a tattoo shop. Oh wait, we're protesting. Okay.
one. So, but you have you actually have some herbal remedies and teas and things like that on your website that people can actually purchase.
I
So
do, yeah, mostly tinctures.
yes, so that's what it was. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Sorry, scrambled brain. Sometimes you know what I mean when you do like a lot of different things for.
Absolutely. I sure do.
So so I noticed that, and they're all herbal things that are close by. Those it didn't seem to be anything imported from far, far away.
No, everything that I sell is really small batch, and every single herb, aside from the lion's mane, which I get from a grower on Vancouver Island who I work with, that's called Forager's Galley. Everything else I have foraged myself. And sometimes they even give me the kits, and I grow them myself in my kitchen and use the lion's mane that way. Um, but I partner with them, and I do videos for them sometimes, and yeah, and that's how that works. But other than that, I don't sell or use or make anything. I mean, sometimes I'll use it if it's gifted, but I don't sell or make anything that's not locally foraged that I haven't put my hands in every single part of it. So, like if I make a tincture of say usnea, the jar is a regular mason jar that I use. It only makes 12 bottles, like, and so it's really really small batch and controlled, and I know what I put my hand on every single part of the process, from picking the plant to cleaning the plant to processing it to turning it into a tincture to bottling it. I made the labels, I designed the labels, I label the bottles myself, and ship every single piece by hand by myself.
That's actually a lot of work. Um, I'll get into off air about how I know that that's a lot of work later on. Uh, but so you put your heart in your soul into everything that you do.
I certainly try to.
So,
I
uh,
feel like a long time ago I read the book The Four Agreements, and uh one of the four agreements is to always do your best. And so if I'm not going to do my best at it, it's not really somewhere I need to put my energy. I don't have time for half-assing things when you have so many things on the go. If something seems like I'm not going to be able to give that my full attention, it's just not something I try to dive into.
that makes sense, right?
Hmm.
Because there's books out there to talk about the one thing and all that kind of stuff. It means that you're focused on this is my purpose, um, and this is my thing to fulfill that purpose, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so it's a good way to live, and it looks like you have a pretty cool life. Again, go for those of you um, who are on Instagram. It's like actually type in Witch Betty and watch some of her videos and reels, and it's like you'll fall in love with Elizabeth right away. I did.
Aw, thanks. Feelings mutual. It's nice to make new friends.
Yeah. Um, but you live in a part of the world that makes it easier for you to do that too, right?
I
If
do,
you're
that's
not
true.
exactly in an urban area.
This is true. I live on a small island off another big island.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're coming from the mainland, you'd have to either fly in or take a minimum of two ferries to arrive here.
Yeah, we were talking about that because maybe planning on taking a trip out. So
Yeah, I know. I hope so. That's
yeah,
great. I am
cool.
currently opening a brick and mortar store here on Gabriel Island called Raven Queen Tattoo. And it'll be a store in the front where we have retail, and I'll be selling like all of these potions. If you watch some of my videos, I recently did a salt video. Actually, I think I put it out today or on Instagram. And I extract salt from the ocean, and I do that not. I mean, you can absolutely do that and use it for cooking, and I've done that as well. But buying salt is fairly inexpensive. It depends how much the sovereignty of your food is important to you. Like a lot of people do things like this just so that they know that they're taking one step back from the food supply and making themselves their own supply more sovereign. But this, I was actually doing this one for intentions and potions and stuff, which is something that's going to be available in the store at Raven Queen Tattoo.
Very cool. Um, okay, I have a question about that because uh, I live in a little town that we have huge beach. Matter of fact, we're known for our pier and our beach.
I do love that beach.
What's that?
I do love that beach.
Yeah, it's really pretty. But here's my thing: because of the shipping lanes and things like that, is it safe to extract the salt from that water?
I don't know. I mean,
I mean,
probably it's probably not advised. Like I don't know that I would want to eat much that comes out of the Puget Sound or like which is that
right.
similar same body of water, right? But it's, I know you're not in Puget Sound, but you know what I mean, like those whole shipping lanes and such high traffic areas. Maybe not, but also who's to say that's not where the sea salt you're buying comes from anyway?
Well, good point. Um, from our point of view at the beach, we can't see. It's not like English Bay, uh,
Exactly.
where
It's
you can
totally
actually
fine.
see the boat sitting there, right? You can't see the
Do you see people fishing?
no, not really.
No, well then maybe I was like, here where I am, there's like fishing
I know,
boats sometimes and
yeah,
whatever, but
I
I
know
mean,
people crab.
yeah, there you go. Well, that's those things are eating all the gunk off the bottom of the ocean anyway. So,
Hmm, good
I
point.
mean, that's like one of the I actually love that question because people say that, oh, you can't eat that. The ocean's full of microplastics. I'm like, and so are you, my friend. Like,
Oh,
we're all full of microplastics at this point. I'm half convinced that if we figured some way to pull it all out of us and not have it, I'm sure our bodies have evolved to need it on some level at this point.
I, I would think that you might have a point because the microplastic thing goes back to as far as uh, my understanding, starting from when we were children.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
I may have been like 5 or 6 when the problem actually started, and you were
we
born in
started being aware of it, and like the plastic revolution was in the 50s, right? So like that's before either of our time.
yeah. So it's like and and that only means that they've only been monitoring it since like 1970 something.
That's right, exactly.
So, if we were to pull it out of our systems, there could be some revolt like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. My arteries may be made of partly plastic at this point. I don't know. That's ridiculous. That's so funny. It'd be like, say you don't know science without saying you don't know science. Me being
Yeah.
like, yeah, my arteries are plastic now, so it's fine. You can
Well,
soundbite that however you like.
yeah, it, we'll leave that as a more comical statement.
And as
But,
that
but
is
there's
that is
some
meant
truth
just
to it, though.
anecdotally for sure.
There's some truth to it because our bodies learn to absorb what's around us. Uh,
Hmm.
Thus, me asking the question about extracting the salt because, well, like I said, on the other side of that bay is the shipping lanes. You can't
That's
see
right.
it from where I'm sitting, but I know it's there. So, uh, because I thought about that because I use a lot of sea salt um, in my spice mixtures and things like that because I'm a big barbecue
Nice.
fan. And I blend my own spices and everything uh, from from the bulk store that they have there. I love bulk stores.
Yeah, I like that too. Bulk bar, bulk stores, bulk stores.
Yes. Um, which which also leads down the path of okay, going in our backyard. We know that it hasn't been sprayed. Doesn't have any of those nasty pesticides and stuff into it. It's like Is that a more conscious way of actually feeding our bodies?
Hold on. Hey, you go in the bedroom. Go. I'll be back. Go.
Okay.
Move it. Move it. No. Okay, do you want to ask that one again?
Okay. But foraging for different plants and everything in our backyards and everything, if we can, is that a more conscious way of actually finding our food and in nourishing our bodies?
I mean, I would say so. I have a hard time speaking in absolutes because I don't believe that I'm the authority on all things like this. But in my opinion, yeah, because now we've taken out the transportation of those vegetables, we've taken out the monocropping, we've taken out the idea that meat juice has fallen on our lettuce and is now going to give us E. coli. I see a lot of memes like, "Oh, bacon never gave anybody E. coli." Well, it does, but it's not the recall on the bacon we're worried about. It's the recall on the way that the vegetables have been stored and the carbon footprint of moving those vegetables around to try to get it there. Is it actually reasonable and viable to think that we can do it just out of our lawns like we did say for my video and have that enough to sustain us? No. To do that, we would need to be using those quarter-acre lots that we have that we call lawns to grow food, because a quarter-acre of grown food can feed a family of four if you know how to preserve it. You have some different canning techniques, you know what you're growing at the right times, then yes, absolutely, we could be feeding ourselves and our families out of our backyards in a more conscious manner that helps both ourselves and the planet.
Right. That is a very good answer because I don't think any of us are truly experts, or maybe we are experts, and maybe something else is telling us that we're not allowed to be experts. But that's a conspiracy event.
Yeah,
We'll go
so I'm
down
always
that
open
road
to
another
those. I
time.
love a good story.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Good story, and that's something that we both share. You are also a storyteller.
That is the truth. That is the truth. I do tend to tell stories in my own way, or try to um, help people visualize something that is in my heart or my soul through my actions and my videos. Or I've actually been working on a children's program with another herbalist named Yarrow Willard called The Adventures of Burdock and Yarrow, where I've created these characters. And we use my last name is actually legally, and not because I made it up, Burdock. And his first name is Yarrow. So it just seemed, and like given name. And so it just seemed supernatural for us to do these things together. And he has a YouTube channel as well. And so I knew he'd be good on camera. It's just finding the time to we've got 3 episodes, two completely done and edited, and we've got one that just needs a couple tweaks. And we were hoping to have 6 or 8 to do a whole season,
Hmm.
but finding time. He has also flown around the world to speak at different things. I believe he's in Toronto right now at a trade show. He went to Estonia, and then I'm also doing things like this, as well as I am being flown to Morelia, Mexico in January to speak at the People's Reset to talk about things like this, like food sovereignty and relationships to plants.
Yeah. Everything sounds very eclectic until we ask the question, what is Elizabeth's message to the world?
I think that my message to the world would just be to try to tread a little bit lightly and lead with kindness. Think about the greater picture. We tend to a lot of the time look at things selfishly or through our own lens, and what's kindness to us, which is also important, don't get me wrong, but I try to think that every step I take is this the kindest move for the planet and for my future 7 generations.
Future 7 generations, that's very, very indigenous thinking.
I was I had a lot of indigenous influence growing up and still do because I live on unceded territory of the Snuneymuxw people currently. And if you don't feel their influence, it's because you're, stupid or you don't care. So,
We can define the that one S word as you don't care.
yeah, I was stealing part of that from a song lyric. It was an Ani DeFranco lyric. She says, "If you're not angry, you're just stupid or you don't care. How else could you react to something so unfair?" But so I was just paraphrasing in my Gen X way, as we do, because if you tell me a sentence that has any kind of song lyric, I'm immediately singing that song out loud to the world because I can't help it. And I don't
Well,
want to help
why
it.
would you? Well, I was going to say, why would you want to help it?
Right?
That's our generation, isn't it?
I
So
know. And we're the best ones, like every generation says about their generation.
yeah, we were kind of squished in the middle of a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what makes us one of the best because we can scream the loudest.
Right? If we care to, which we probably
Hey,
don't.
damn it, we ended apartheid in South Africa, right?
I don't think I had any part in that, but I'm glad it happened.
Oh, well, I'm a little bit ahead of you in the generation, and yes, 1980 something as a uh, ninth grader, I remember marching for a pride.
Yeah, I remember it happening.
But
Yeah.
you do a lot of protests, and that protest is wrapped around your what that story is and what your message is to be a little kinder to the planet.
Yeah, that began for me really young. Like when I was I don't know, probably 16, somewhere around there. They started on Vancouver Island. There was a fight, which was until Fairy Creek, the largest act of civil disobedience in Canada, was the fight for to save Clackwot Sound. Unfortunately for them, unfortunately for the Fairy Creek forest defenders, they won, and Clackwot Sound was saved. But I had tried to get out there with a friend. There was like also stuff in the Walburn Valley, and we would go to smaller protests and smaller things like that. I never made it to Clackwet for the big thing because I was, young, but we did do the smaller protests on the outside for that. But then a series of events, my having a child at just after my 21st birthday, um, and I was living on Bowen Island again. I was going to a place called Family Place, and I met a woman named Sephora Berman, and she asked me to come live with her and be her nanny for her son named Forrest. And at the time, I believe she was working for Rainforest Action Network, but she is the woman charged with 1,000 faces of Clackwot Sound. So this is another thing where I believe spirit has always just been trying to pull me in and make me a part of these things. I met people there that I like with no, I didn't finish high school. I didn't have very much formal education of any kind. I met people there that had, because during the time I lived there, she got a moratorium put on what is called the Great Bear Rainforest, which stretches from the tip of Vancouver Island to Alaska. And they had a celebration and they had inspiring people. I was like imposter syndrome level 10,000, even just being in their presence, that had done things like interned at the White House, and they tried to get me involved in something called Ruckus, the School of Ruckus, which was learning to do acts of civil disobedience and fly signs and tree sit and things like that, which I wasn't able to do because I was busy trying to raise a small child with little guidance on how to do so. But it still at the same time lit that continued that fire to grow.
Well, okay, so we all can't do the tree setting, but we can support the tree sitter.
Absolutely.
You know? So
Absolutely. When we went to Fairy Creek, I worked for the media team there, and I started their TikTok, and I did all of the video work, and I would film and make videos of the actions. But I wasn't in a position to throw myself in it and get arrested because I have things to do and I want to travel. I mean, had it come down to it, so be it, but there was enough people, in my opinion, and someone needs to document it.
Absolutely.
So I did a lot of we did that, and then we did some of the when people would come back from like a sleeping dragon. If for those who don't know what that is, a sleeping dragon is when they cement something underground and they put bars in it, and then they make like a tube with a hole. You stick your arm in it and you cuff yourself to it. So now you can't get out. And so the machine hopefully doesn't just run you over when the people come to tear down the forest that we're trying so desperately to defend. And there would be young people who were in sleeping dragons, and when they would come back from these actions, mildly traumatized from the way they've been spoken to, the things that happened, we would do the intake and talk to them and things like that. And I would feed a lot of them lemon balm tincture because it acts very quickly on the nervous system and calms you.
That's amazing that you would know that.
But to feed them lemon balm?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of my jam. Herbal medicine's kind of my thing.
Yeah. It's saying that that's not exactly as common knowledge as one would think, right?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of studying that came through some of those things as well.
Yeah.
Just like I said, that while I may not hold um certificates from actual institutions, there's no denying that I've spent many hours, months, days, and years studying all of these things through
You're
books and workshops and
so
whatever else.
because it's pretty apparent that you're an avid reader. Okay. Um, and it's like ultimately it doesn't matter that you went to an institution to get the book to read and we're told to assign things out of that book by some teacher. It doesn't matter that if you did read the book that way or if you just found the book and you read the book and you learned from the book. It doesn't
I
matter
agree.
which way you do it, right?
I
uh,
completely agree.
yeah.
I
And
think that's a thing, like why I'm always nervous to talk about it is because I don't ever want to take away the value that can be found out of regular institutionalized learning. We're not all the same. Not everyone has the willpower or drive to want to do these things on their own. They don't even know where to start or how to start. So without these institutionalized learning centers, there's many people who wouldn't ever get the knowledge that they needed to do the great things that they do today. So I don't think that anything's lost when learning is involved. And regardless of how you do it, I just wasn't capable and I'm still not capable of doing it in that way.
they're saying there's nothing wrong with that. What
Exactly.
because you love books and
Mhm.
you said that you love books without even saying that you love books because you talk about oh I read this or I read that. You've said it several times.
Right.
Um, the idea of burning books.
Uh, the idea of burning books. Well, I mean, let's take it from a book. How do we feel about George Orwell's 1984? You know, I mean, if you did make it through some institutionalized learning, you should be quite familiar with those books. Although I'm not convinced they're teaching it today in school, but but I don't. I mean, it depends why you burned a book. I mean, I don't think that it's good, and we shouldn't burn all of them. But what if you needed to stay warm? I might have ripped a couple pages out of a Bible to turn into a rolly a few times in my life. I'm not saying that it's a good idea, but also it's not a great rolly either. Um, but you know, I no, I it's a tricky one, right? Like I don't think that I don't believe in censorship at all. Like under any circumstance, I don't think it's okay. I believe in teaching people the difference between what is false and what is real. I believe in teaching people to use critical thinking skills so that we don't need to shield them and not let them have any false media. See the false media, laugh at it, or take it in, have discussions with those people who are like absolutely over the top on flat earth or whatever it is they're into, and have actual discussions about it. Learn why they thought that, what fringe society brought them into being white supremacists because they never felt, that they had community in something else. And these people were like, we will give you community, just hate everybody else because you kind of do anyway because you're upset or whatever. But if we open conversations to all kinds of people, I just feel like we could, I know it's idealistic, but have a more functional society as a whole.
Well, but if we don't have idealists to promote the ideals to begin with, how are we ever going to get there?
Amen.
Wait a second, I just say I'm a fellow idealist. uh, but on a serious note, what is your ideal in that way? Ideal for our human society?
um, I'd like to see, well, I mean, I'd like to see, I want to live in Wakanda, if I'm being honest. Can I move to Wakanda, please? Um, I would like to see a place where um, science is important and seen as questions that need answers, not answers that can't be questioned. I'd like to see a place where none of us are judged by the way that we look based on our color, our size, our creed, um, our caste. I would like to see a place where we can discuss things rather than fight. I don't want to fight for resources. I don't want to, I don't want to, I would like to lose all ideals of capitalism. I'd love to see a socialist society in a way that that could work. So, Wakanda.
Yeah, yay.
I'd like to see technology help us do things and us to be grateful for it to advance society. But yeah, I don't know. I can see it in my mind, but to paint the picture of it for the rest of the world without just looking like someone who has no grip in reality, which isn't far from the truth, is difficult.
No, you have your own grip on reality. Um, but before I, yeah, what is your grip on reality?
I don't know. I think this is probably a simulation. Just kidding. I don't know. I just want to make sure you have lots of good sound bites here to pull in some people. It's all a simulation.
Okay.
None of this is real.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I'm going to wake up and have to unplug from the Matrix at some point. But I don't think that I want to because I saw what happens when you unplug. This is better.
mm, yeah,
But I don't know. I
yeah,
don't know. I question everything. That is my take on reality. When
yeah.
things go really well in my favor, as they often do a lot of the time, I'll turn to one of my good friends, Jared, who is actually a clinical therapist with 2 master's degrees and one of my best friends, and we'll say, not a simulation. Not a simulation.
To quote or paraphrase, I'm not actually quote uh, Neil Tyson Degrassi. I'm not going to directly quote him because we will paraphrase him. He
Okay,
said one of the points of science is to question everything that we see, to
that's how it's
question
meant to
every
be.
answer that we receive.
Absolutely.
It isn't about finding the answers. It's about developing the right questions.
That's why everything is considered, if in science, as a theory. This is the theory of gravity. It's a theory. We don't know that's why it's working. for sure. I mean, we're pretty sure we do, but we don't know for sure. Like, for example, if who was that guy who spoke on Joe Rogan? He's also an actor. It was great, and he talked about opening the the flower of life wrong, and he said gravity's not real, and that it's just uh like something that comes from like electromagnetic. I don't know. I can't even remember right now. But anyway, he was trying to debunk the theory of gravity,
Hmm.
which I thought was interesting. So to remind us that all of these things are theories, which is any real scientist will tell you. It's the rest of the keyboard warrior scientists that think that it's already all been answered.
Mm, far from all been answered, but um, yeah, but we need to question more, and it's been a lot of fun questioning you, and I look forward to having you back another time to talk about more stuff.
That sounds great. I would love that. I hope that I didn't rant too much and that I answered the questions you'd hope to
Oh,
ask.
it's a good amount of rant. It's
Good.
cool. Um, so if we want to get a hold of this tinctures, and of course you're also a tattoo artist, so there's two different things. Which Betty I know has the tinctures and your herbal work, right?
My tattoo work can also be seen on my website at witchbetty.com. Sadly, right now, I'm unable to sell to anybody in the United States, which is 95% of my sales because of just the way that these tariffs have gone. The cost of sending something, I'd have to add 50% to my cost to cover it, or 50% to the price on top of what's already being asked, just to cover it, as well as I tried to do it anyway and it won't print the labels and I can't do it. So I've just had to close the store to the United States. But that doesn't mean you can't come see me in person, because I am opening this tattoo studio and store. That doesn't, but I don't expect people to just come up for a day if you're coming from Oregon or from, I don't know, Tennessee or Texas. So instead, I'm pairing with some of the local places here to be able to offer vacation packages. So we'll have rooms offered. You can do multi-day stays with a package where you can include paddleboarding and kayaking, foraging days with me. So I can take you in the forest and teach you the things that I do. We can talk some Shinrin Yoku, some forest bathing, and as well as booking your tattoo time with either me or my business partner, Michelle. And you can get that by looking at Raven Queen Tattoo on Instagram or by checking out witchbetty.com.
Awesome.
Which will, yeah, I also have a blog there you can read and all sorts of info.
Cool. So, um, if for those of you who go as far as to find your way onto our blog, we will put lots of cool links and stuff in Elizabeth's blog post about what we just talked about. Yay!
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael.
Yeah. Thank you for being on the show, and thank you everybody for listening today. And
Yeah, thank
go
you so
to
much.
witchbetty.com.
Awesome. Thanks. Let's chat again soon.